It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Indiana State head women's soccer coach, Julie Hanley. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about your coaching experience and how you got started?
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Indianapolis, and I played at the University of Kansas. I was there for 5 years, and then from Kansas, I was a grad assistant at Illinois State from 2010 to 2012. And from there, I was an assistant at the University of Iowa, and then in July of 2016 is when I became the head coach here at Indiana State.
Can you talk about, of course, your time at Iowa and what you accomplished there?
Yeah, so my time at Iowa, I was obviously an assistant coach there. We actually were the first team to make the NCAA tournament in Iowa history, and that was in 2013, I believe it was. No, 2014. And so for us as coaches and for them as the players, it was obviously a great accomplishment because no team had done that before. So I think that was kind of one of the big staples that we were able to accomplish there. And we made it to 2 Big Ten championship tournament games, and unfortunately lost in both of the finals, but we're able to get an automatic or an at-large bid for the NCAA tournament. And our first round game was against Notre Dame. We ended up unfortunately losing that game, but the experience and just to set the precedent moving forward for that program that we were capable of making the tournament was something pretty special and pretty unique.
That's amazing. Can you talk about your time as a grad assistant at Illinois State?
Yeah, so that was my first kind of coaching job right out of school. The head coach at the time, his name was Drew Roth, and I actually knew him because he was from Indianapolis originally. So we had a little bit of a connection from my previous playing days in high school. But he's now at Purdue, the head coach at Purdue. But the experience at Illinois State was great in that, you know, you're exposed to a bunch of different things and you're learning so much every day. And during that time, the program still is really successful, and it was successful when I was there as well. But I had the privilege of being around the 4-time player of the year. Her name was Rachel Tejada. So to be in that environment was pretty special and pretty unique. But the learning curve and the amount of things that, you know, go into running a program that you don't see all the time as when you're a student athlete or a player, it was really kind of eye-opening in a good way. So that experience helped me get to Iowa, and then obviously from Iowa to Indiana State.
What was your collegiate time like at University of Kansas?
It was great. I loved it. Obviously, being a student athlete is a unique and special experience, but I was a goalkeeper, so that position, you know, is a little bit unique for a lot of people. But I think the time I spent at KU was awesome. There's no better feeling than playing for your school and representing your university on the national stage. So I think that experience was second to none, and it was. I mean, they say it's the best years of your life, and I could completely agree with that. So it goes by fast, though.
Can you talk about, of course, what you've accomplished at Indiana State?
Yeah. So coming into the program, my first year, we made it back to the MVC tournament, which is something that we're striving to do every year. And I think the biggest thing for me that we've been trying to do is kind of change the type of player in the culture that we want to have here. And that's no disrespect to anyone that previously, because I think they've done a fantastic job in building this program. And so when I came in here, I was wanting to get, you know, the right people in place. And then we always say it's people first and then the players second. You got to be a good person. And then if you check that box and you're going to fit from a human standpoint, then we always talk about the athletic side of things. So I think, you know, just being able to bring in the right kids and getting them to buy into what we're doing, and obviously, you know, working extremely hard and taking it just kind of one day at a time. But Like I said, the first year we were back in the MVC tournament, and the last couple of years we haven't done as well in that regard. But I think the people we have in place right now in the freshmen we have coming in the fall will help us for sure get there and continue to take that next step.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you have helped build there?
Yeah, I think for us, we always talk about there's three pieces of it. It's the athletic piece, the academic piece, and then the social or the community side of things. So typically, if you have 3 out of 3 of those, you're going to be successful here. But I think leaving the program a better place than they found it, and realizing that it's about the team and it's not about the individual. And I think it's something that the current players have really bought into, is team first all the time, and it's never looking too far in advance, and just taking advantage of every opportunity we have, and taking it one day at a time. So that's been kind of our approach to how we want to do things. And we want to be good in the classroom. We want to be seen in the community, be visible, and give back to the university and to the Terre Haute community as well.
Can you talk about, of course, how COVID has infected your first season as the coach, and now moving into this season, how it's kind of still affected it?
Yeah, for sure. So we typically our games are in the fall, so we didn't have a fall season. We were just able to train, which a lot of schools didn't have the opportunity to do. So we were really fortunate that Indiana State allowed us to do that. So actually, we are playing in the spring. So our first game is actually going to be a week from Wednesday. We just got an exhibition game against Southern Indiana, but we're playing just conference only. So February 28th, Drake comes to us, and it's a little bit different, obviously, with the time of year and the COVID and everything is a little bit changed. Obviously, that everyone's going through the same thing, but our kids have been resilient, and they haven't made any excuses, and it's been good moving forward. And obviously their lifestyle has had to change a little bit just with what we're asking them to do. But we're just glad that we're still, having a season this spring and something to play for, and still going to be Missouri Valley Conference tournament and an NCAA tournament. So that everything that we want to play for is still a possibility.
Can you talk about, of course, the recruitment prospect for prospective student athletes and what that's like?
Yeah, so I guess middle of March, obviously when everything shut down, we were not able to go on the road. And as it stands now, we're going to be shut down through April. So in terms of going out and watching kids, live and in person, obviously it's a lot of Zoom calls like we're doing right now, and a lot of film and things like that. But the process, I think, has slowed down a little bit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I think student athletes are having to take more time in the recruiting process and really making sure that it's the right fit. But for us, it's a lot of communication via Zoom, FaceTime, and then it's just watching game film. And you kind of have to trust your gut a lot of times, and trust the club coaches that you have good relationships with. And everyone's kind of in the same boat from the Division I standpoint in terms of not being able to go out on the road. So it's made it a little bit unique, very unique in that regard. And we're going to be at least a couple more months until we can get out and watch games live.
What does the official visit look like for a soccer program?
Yeah, so typically it's it is their senior year, and a lot of times for us, the players have already verbally committed. So official visits, it's not necessarily for kids, at least in the past, the way we've done it. The kids have already been. So you're allowed 5 official visits as a student athlete, but we just bring them on campus. We try and bring them all in together the same weekend so they can meet each other, meet the current team, and then kind of figure out the dynamic of their class and who they want to room with, and how campus works and how game day works, things like that. So it's just an opportunity for them to come spend the weekend on campus. Their parents sometimes will join them as well, but just typically we'll go to a game and then just kind of hang out with the team and just kind of live the life for the weekend, and then they go back home, and then we expect them obviously to be preparing and to be doing everything possible so that when they come in the fall, they're ready to kind of hit the ground running.
Do they at least get to try on, of course, the soccer uniforms whenever they're on the official visit?
Yeah, they will put the jersey on and take pictures and do all that stuff. So, but in terms of any sort of like a tryout or anything like that, like from a skill and ability standpoint, we've already kind of identified them, and for most of them, we've made a financial commitment, and it's kind of just the last trip for them to be on campus, and it's paid for by the university, so it's an opportunity for them to meet their future teammates.
What do you plan on accomplishing in this upcoming year?
What do I plan on accomplishing? Well, I think as of now, like this spring season, for us, it's like I said, it's just taking it, one day at a time. And what's most important for us right now is that our players are doing everything necessary and possible, that's things that they can control to keep safe. So like I said, we're asking them to do some things that maybe we wouldn't in the past in terms of who they're hanging out with, where they're going and things like that. But I think so that's first and foremost is their health and safety is got to be number one. And that's going to continue to be the priority regardless of if we're in COVID or not. But I think for us is to move up in the league. The last couple of years we've lost a lot of 1-goal games, and we've been on the wrong side of some of those scores. So, this year, can we win some of those 1-goal games or get a tie? And I think we're in a good position to do that. It's a very, very young team. We only have 2 seniors and 3 juniors. So it's really freshman and sophomore heavy, which is exciting for us as coaches. But we also know there's going to be some growing pains as well, and that's okay.
Can you talk about, of course, how you plan to adapt with COVID happening where games might get canceled at a drop of a hat?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, you can't plan for this. It's kind of the unknown. And I think we just have to be, stay prepared so that, if whenever something comes up or some adversity hits, then it's not going to be a total shock to us. So I think just embracing kind of the adversity and knowing that like we're going to be uncomfortable at times, and that's okay. That's how we're going to learn and grow and be better as an individual and better as a team. But for us, like we only have 8 conference games, and to qualify for the tournament, you have to play at least 5. So you start doing the math, and it's, if you have a COVID issue or whatever, in terms of not being able to play a game, it can get a little bit dicey in terms of the amount of games you're going to play. But I think a lot of things are out of our control, but what we can control, that's what we're focusing on, and just taking each and every day and doing everything in our power to stay safe and healthy. And then we can't control what other teams do. And that's what I try and tell our players is we have no control over anything else except ourselves. And that's what we're going to focus our time and energy on.
What advice would you give upcoming high school athletes looking to get into college soccer?
I think a lot of times in the recruiting process, anytime one of their club teammates makes a commitment or verbally commits to another school, that tends to make the timeline speed up for other people. And I think the piece of advice I would give is it's different for everyone, and it doesn't make it right or wrong if you commit, it's senior year, junior year, sophomore year, whatever it is. I think just truly taking the steps necessary and asking a bunch of questions. Ask the players if you can, ask the coaches the hard questions, because it's your experience and it's the 4 to 5 years of your college experience. So you got to make sure it's the right fit. And when you choose a school, and you choose it if you weren't able to play soccer, say for whatever reason you got to campus and maybe you got an injury or whatever it is, would you still be happy at that school even if you weren't playing? And so that's something that I try and kind of tell the any recruit is, can you live this lifestyle if you for whatever reason couldn't play soccer? And then if you could, then I think you've made the right choice.
That's great advice. What advice would you give upcoming college coaches looking to get started?
I think you got to go to something that I still do is I try and go to as many like other teams' practices as well. Watch as many coaches as possible, not necessarily soccer. Like pre-COVID, we'd go and watch football practice, we'd go and watch basketball practice, because there's so many things you can learn from other coaches, and I think that's important, and it's something that maybe people don't take advantage of if given. But I think just being, a sponge of information and knowledge, and knowing that sometimes there's going to be some jobs and some opportunities that maybe aren't as glamorous, but if you got to put in the work, and good things will happen. And I think that would be the biggest thing, is making sure that no task is above you, and knowing that if every day, if you continue to work hard and put yourself in the best, situation to be successful, it will come. And a lot of times people want to skip steps, in the coaching world, and maybe you get lucky and you can do that, but it's very rarely are you going from a college athlete to the head coach of a team. It's what's in between those things. So taking advantage of your resources, and like I said, asking a bunch of questions, older coaches, things like that, finding a mentor that you can have tough conversations with, but conversations that you need to have if you want to continue to grow as a coach.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with, of course, Indiana State Women's
Yes, so we've
soccer program?
so on Twitter and Instagram, it's the @Indiana State soccer, and then my personal one is just Julie_Hanley, and then the number 1. So that's how you could find us.
Thank you again, Coach Julie, for your interview,
no
and best
problem.
of luck in this upcoming season.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at @talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Julie, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.